Hello, hello, hello. I see a few people on so far. You're joining the Chat GPT for BBCRM developers. I see the count climbing here a little bit. While we're waiting for people to join, does anyone want to give a shout out on chat here? Say where you're located or your favorite food or your dog's name, pet's name. Hello, Jason. Hello. I don't want to butcher. Hello, hello. All right. We're about up to 61 people, 62. We're still climbing here. We might give it another minute here, Patrick.
Sounds good.
All right. From all over the place. Patrick, I'm going to put you on the spot. Where are you located right now?
I'm actually a couple hours outside of Stockholm, Sweden right now, but my normally I'm in Orlando.
That is very nice. And so, what is the time there in Sweden right now? I'm sorry, I don't know that off the
We're
cuff.
creeping up on 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Okay, nice, nice. Well, thank you for joining us in the evening, and welcome from there too. So yeah, all over the world today.
Yeah, it's the time of year that the sun will go down at around 10:30 and be back up by 3:30 a.m. So not not a long night here.
We have a few people saying, Patrick, we know you. Why are you in Sweden? What's going on?
Just over here doing some family stuff.
Nice, nice. Well, why don't we go ahead and kick it off? I see we have around 74 people here today, so that is great attendance, and I thank everyone for your time in joining us today. I'm Raney Allen, and I'm your moderator for today. And so I'm super excited here to introduce Patrick. He's known far and wide with many of people here and just an excellent resource. And today he's going to share with us some fantastic tips and tricks on how to utilize Chat GPT with BBCRM. Before I pass it off to him, just a couple of housekeeping items. One is that we love your questions. Don't hesitate to pop these into us if we miss them. I'm going to try to keep track of them here while we're going through chat here. And then right before the end of this meeting, we're going to pop up a survey about 2 minutes till. And so we'd love for your feedback, thoughts, opinions, of course, high ratings. And I think there's a chance for Patrick to also be a presenter at BBCon if you guys love it, and raise up his and do the surveys for him. Beyond that, well, BBCon is September 24th through 26th. And so I'll pop that registration link in our messages for anybody that wants to register. And I think beyond that, further ado, Patrick, I kick it off to you.
Great. Excuse me. Thank you, Raney. Yeah, I'll just do a real quick background on myself so everybody knows where I'm coming from. I've been in Microsoft.NET development since right about 2000, to date myself significantly here. Got into Blackbaud CRM, working as a solutions architect at Blackbaud starting in 2011. Did a bunch of really cool implementations and worked on the LO connector, the original LO connector to BBCRM. Then in 2016, I moved over to Zuri Group, where I pretty much continued to do the same cool stuff, mainly Blackbaud CRM consulting. And at Zuri Group, we built the Velocity tool, which hopefully some of you are using. And then about a year ago, I went solo and started Wakaiba Software. Um, And so again, I'm still just doing the same thing, but what's so hopefully that'll kind of let you know the lens I'm looking at Chat GPT and other tools through. Just you know, all this same stuff that us as BBCRM developers have been doing for since the dawn of Blackbaud CRM. Like how can we make it easier? Should we be scared? What uh, what's this all about, and what can it do for us? So um, I'm going to spend pretty much the whole time in um, Visual Studio here, even though I'm not writing a bunch of code, but I'll just jump right into it. So the first thing I wanted to do was just see what these tools know about the SDK, right? Can you just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, make me uh, the CRUD specs given a table spec," and the well, I won't shortcut the answer here, but so this is the prompt that I used, and hopefully this is legible here. Um, Basically, I kind of treated this like the CRUD package wizard, and said, okay, given this table spec, um, can you create me a add data form and an edit data form spec? So create an add data form and edit data form template spec, and so that's what I stuck into um, these three. I started out just thinking we were going to do Chat GPT, but I stuck it in Google and Microsoft as well. Um, and so I'll show you what the results were here. Um, so ChatGPT gave it a pretty good try. And again, remember, this is the only thing I fed it was to using the Blackbaud CRM SDK, and I said create an add data form spec and edit data form spec, right? So I didn't give it any template of the spec itself. And so it spit this out, which is um, it's interesting that we've got data form field instead of form field, and no either CLR or SP node. So it it kind of did some stuff, but um, this is not correct by any means. Same thing with the edit data form. Came up with the same data form fields, and it did get the header correct. Um, so that was kind of interesting, and that's so Google. This was kind of funny. I don't know if how many of you have been annoyed by Google's launch of their AI search tool that sits there and thinks about your search for a minute and tries to answer your question instead of giving you links. But it's for me, it's been awful. I'm like, let's just make this thing go away, because it's just not, it's off the mark sometimes, quite a bit. And this kind of goes along the lines of my experience with that. So I didn't ask for a view a view data form template, but it gave me a view data form, and then we've got this table spec ref, and then it goes into what kind of seems like a page, uh, page definition with like section, and then field ref. So it pulled this from somewhere. I'm not sure where it got this template from. And then the Microsoft Copilot actually succeeded in creating the two specs, but it did even less than ChatGPT did. Um, and so, yeah, so these basically, the quick answer is your jobs are safe. You're not gonna, you know, ChatGPT is not just gonna come along and obsolete the Blackbaud CRM SDK uh, developer group. Um, so then, of course, I use the CRUD package wizard just to see, remind me, okay, what is this actually supposed to look like? Um, and this is what it came up with, which is obviously correct. Um, and yeah, the only thing the CRUD package wizard typically screws up on it just doesn't have a way to pull captions. So you always have to go in and fix your captions and then paste it into the other specs. Um, so CRUD package wizard is the clear winner here. Um, I went and maybe I did this. I've got two copies of this project open. Um, I went back again and redid the prompt though. So I realized that I should feed it a little more information and see how it does. And so with this prompt, I I got a little more detailed and said, okay, I'm going to feed it a basically like a sample add data form template spec that you get when you just click, add new item, add data form SP. Um, and so I cleaned that up a little bit, stuck it in here along with the same table spec, and um, put the prompt in and explained, okay, that we've got placeholders in the store procedure and in the form fields. Um, you know, I always say please when I do this. I feel like if you're polite um, to the tools, then when the robots take over, you'll be the last one that they kill. I say thank you to my Alexa too. I don't know if anybody else does that. It always feels a little weird, but I still do it. Um, so, anyways, this is basically said gave it a little more info and said, here's what I want you to do with this. And it actually came out much better. So again, this is Chat GPT. Um, it figured out all of the store procedure parameters. It even correctly created the table insert. And I didn't mention this is just a table. This is a staging table from Velocity that I had laying around that was about the right size that I wanted to mess with. But it holds Luminate Online Team Razor teams. Um, so that was just because I had that laying around that I used it. But I mean, not bad for the store procedure creation, and then the form fields. It actually pulled the captions out of the um, the table spec. I don't think I showed you that the um, table spec, the version of this table spec that I was using, I actually put captions in the descriptions of the columns. Don't know. I got that in the wrong spot. I'll find that later. But these are going to be posted on GitHub, so you'll have the right stuff if anybody wants to go and look at this stuff. Um, but anyways, that was significantly better. Which again, it just kind of goes to show that um, the tool is only as good as the prompt that you give it, which I'm sure is not real news to anybody here. Um, so then the next thing that I did
Oh,
was,
Patrick, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Can I interject for 1 second
of
here?
course,
We have a question come in from the one and only Bo Creator here. And he said, this session is focused on Chat GPT, authorizing code for developers. Do you have any experience building generative AI applications within the BBCRM UX? Or do you have thoughts on the type of generative AI application for CRM users? He's thinking writing emails to donors, for instance.
I am working with a company called Momentum that does exactly that. They have a plugin. Well, it's a standalone app that we're building an integration with Blackbaud CRM that is meant for gift officers to. It basically uses Chat GPT or they're using Azure, because you can sandbox the data, but they're doing exactly that, Bo. They're um, taking basically data pushed directly from BBCRM into Momentum and giving kind of a tailored experience to the gift officers to um, draft emails to potential donors, and working through opportunities and prospect plans and stuff like that. And it learns the writing style of the gift officers and stuff like that. I am personally working on the integration with that, not the not the real smart part that actually does the AI stuff. But there's definitely folks out there that are building these things. Any other questions?
Oh, no, that is it. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Bo.
Um, so moving on down the line of things that, I try to think of what what things do we do in Blackbaud CRM development that can be tedious, repetitive, for lack of a better term. And I thought about batch extension specs. Back the probably the first year that I was in Blackbaud professional services, I must have heard every developer say, "Yeah, we're going to write a tool that generates batch extensions because they're such a pain, because you have to duplicate all of the field names for the table, the base table, so many times. You have to put them in the form fields. You have to put them in up to like 7 store procedures, and it's just super time consuming." Um, so I figured let's see what Chat GPT can do, or all these AI tools can do to help with that. And this is where I actually managed to get a little excited about this. Um, so this is the prompt without the XML in it yet. It ends up being a pretty long prompt, but so basically saying, since you're pasting it all in as um, you know, one long string, I say basically the XML with the root node batch type extension spec contains stored procedures with placeholder parameters, and such as user field one and placeholder form field XML elements corresponding to the parameters in the procs. Um, Please modify the batch type extension spec so that each proc has the parameter corresponding to each field element in the XML with root node table spec. This must be where I stuck where I put the captions in the table. Yeah. Um, and so using this table, this is we're going to a different table now. This is an extension that I had sitting around that, again, it corresponds to Luminate Online, but this is a batch extension that kind of handles its own contact management in the Cub. So we've got an email address, we've got the email status, opt-out info, home phone, work phone, cell phone, country ID, and then all the address information. And then I put column caption, colon, and then the captions that I wanted for the field, um, the form fields, just to give the tool something to fill those in with, right? Um, and so I also passed in a basic batch extension. This is a constituent update batch extension. So for those of you that work with these extensively, you know that if you're doing a constituent update batch extension, since it is an upsert batch, meaning a commit, it can both add and edit rows. You have to add another node in the commit for the edit row, which then contains a load and a save. And so it's just more store procedures that follow kind of the same template of user field one, user field two, user field three. And then you have the basic form fields down here. So other than adding um, the commit edit, this template is as the SDK would give it to you when you first add it. I think I just added the base table name down here too. Um, and this is where Chat GPT really did a good job. So this is the Chat GPT batch type extension. And yeah, you can see here it got all of the proper parameters. It figured out the um, data types, even though the data type information it had were the kind of the translated names in the table spec that don't exactly correspond to the SQL data types, but it it did it great. Created the insert statement, added by, changed by, and all that stuff correct. And then if we look at the form fields, it even um, got the captions correct here. There are some spots where I know in some of these it used incorrect data type strings for these, but um, in general, uh, I see this is a pretty good win here, being able um, to generate a legit batch type extension from scratch, essentially using a table spec. Um, so let's see what Google Gemini did. Um, close all but this. And I should mention I'm using Visual Studio 2022 here, and the only problem I typically have with this and the SDK is just it's forever not using the right schema. So my IntelliSense goes away daily, and I have to constantly come up to the XML menu and um, hit the pick the right schema out of the SDK folder. Um, so if anybody's got a quick and easy solution for that, I'd love to hear it. And so yeah, Google Gemini, it made an effort, but you can tell how short this is that it's not really there. So it's partial. Um, it's almost like it truncated it, because this is all I got. And then Microsoft Copilot was just like, it's too long. I'm bored with you. I don't want to answer this question. Um, so I get the feeling this is just not the primary use case for Microsoft Copilot. Um, but so moving on, for those of you that have used Velocity and used the formulas, I could just give a real quick um, example uh, of what I'm talking about for the folks that haven't used Velocity. But Velocity is Zuri Group's data management tool. It's akin to Brightline Data Loader. They do similar things, just with different approaches in general. And so Velocity, you basically move data from one place to another. You have a source and a target. The source can be BBCRM. The target can be BBCRM. Source and target can be files. For these examples, I just did flat file as a source and a staging table as a target. And so the first example I did here um, is cleaning a phone number. So when you're in Velocity, you're picking a source and picking a target, and then you've got this data map between the two, and it gives you the ability to run code um, as part of the process. So, for example, if I've got inbound phone numbers that have dashes and parentheses and extensions and stuff in them, and I really just want to get the number itself, the clean number. Um, that's an example of where I can write a formula, and this will take C# or VB, and it'll basically run that on every row and spit out the answer into the target. And you can sit here and test these too, so you can see this formula works. But I have found that Chat GPT is really good at writing these formulas if you prompt it correctly. Um, so this is an example of the phone number cleaner, and what you have to tell it is basically in C#, I have a dictionary string object variable called row, because that's what the underlying code gives you access to. That's basically what each row you get to run code against it, and you're given this object to work with. But typically you only have one line to work with. So you have to do everything as kind of like a single line return statement. And so that's exactly what I tell ChatGPT to do. Um, write a single line return statement giving me the number element cleared of all formatting, such as spaces, parentheses, hyphens, etc. And I realize that etc. is not exactly precise language, but I want to try and make sure that it's not going to give me a formula specifically targeted at spaces, parentheses, and hyphens. So that's why I stuck etc. in there, and it seems to have worked fine. Um, and I did this twice, and I'll show you what the results are. So the first time it gave me regex dot replace, row number dot toString, and then um, I don't understand regex very well, but I think the gist of this is that it's um, saying give me the digits, or give me everything, everything that is a digit. Um, and so if we go look at this, and I'll run the process. And so I can go view stage data, and this shows me I saved the original phone number and the clean phone number next to each other. And so it worked, did great, and I didn't have to spend 3 hours trying to figure out regexes or trying to do a replace on every possible character that could be invalid in a phone number. Um, and so I ran it again, which is always interesting because every time you run these, you get a different answer. And it gave me this one, which seems to work just as well. I would guess that this is going to be a little less performant, but that's probably splitting hairs. But I think I have that one in here too. Um, and since this is just C# code, you can actually comment things out and leave them in here. So that's what I did on this one. Or actually, no, the one that I just ran is the one that I just showed you. And so if we can run the other one, we'll just run this one. Delete, test it, make sure it works on this row. But I do find it fascinating that it'll give you a different answer every time, just about. But again, it's very good, quick formula, and I know we've at Zuri Group has had challenges getting, I guess, non-developers into writing formulas for completely understandable reason. This is not what the typical functional person wants to be writing, but with the write Chat GPT prompt. Non-developers should be able to do this too somewhat easily. Um, so I've got another one that is velocity. I don't focus too much on velocity because I know that's not something that everybody uses. Um, this is one from our engaging networks integration that we did. And let me see if I can find the raw data here. Um, no. Yeah. So this was a challenge during an integration. The engaging network sends down recurring gift change data. This is all one column, and you can change both the status and the amount. And I believe some of these have like payment day in them too. So there's all this different data crammed into a text field. And you're building a integration, so you're responsible for plucking this data out and responding to it. And so I this is a case where I actually did use ChatGPT to solve this problem as part of the implementation. Um, because basically what we wanted to do was split off a couple of other columns into the destination table and move this stuff out of this mess of strings into their own columns. So like we got a change amount column that'll capture this. We've got a change status that'll capture this. And I think we got a payment day change column that'll capture this one. And so we just do all that with regular expressions. And so this is the prompt that I use for this. And so these all start basically the same with the same format here. In C#, I have a dictionary string object variable called row with a key of, and then you tell it what the field name is that contains your data, and then give it an example of the data that you want to process and what you want to do with it. Um, and that's it. Just stuck it into, and I stopped using Google Gemini and Copilot at this point because I realized that um, ChatGPT is just head and shoulders above those. It was just um, not really a point in using the other ones for trying to write code. And this was an interesting one because when I ran this again, building this for the demo, and I remembered that the working one that we used did actually look for the word like amount in it. Um, and so this one, I went ahead and tried it because I believe this is just looking for um, a numeric value. I think that's what the D is, and maybe saying give me a decimal with a period and then a decimal. Um, but so when we first ran that one, so I'll go look at this here. Right, so this one's commented out. Okay, so that's the first thing it gave me. It tests out correctly with this value, but if you run it and then look at the data, we can come in here and see. I saw some of these. So payment day of 9, and it was sticking. Basically, what we're trying to do is get the change amount. So this is one formula to grab the change amount, and the formula that it gave me was actually grabbing 15 on the payment day and 9 for the payment day. So this is where I realized that okay, this formula is close, but not quite exactly what we need. Um, and so that's what I just ran the exact same prompt through again, and it gave me the one that I remember getting when I was working on this project last year, which is actually looking for the text of amount and then the numeric value. But tested in here with this sample set of data that we paste in, and it works fine. So it's just a testament that you need to look at what it's doing, and not just trust that it's going to do the right thing. And so that version, payment day, still results in 0 for change amount. So then we're sure that we're only getting an amount where there is actually an amount here. And so similarly, we'd have three other columns or two other columns, one that's got the status and one that's got the payment day in it, using essentially the same method, with a regular expression. Okay. So the last thing, I believe this is the last thing I was going to show. Just thinking about other things that I do that tend to be difficult and time consuming. And this probably varies for every different developer. Everybody's got their things that are like right on the money that they're really good at. For me, that's SQL. And then the other end of the spectrum is JavaScript. I'm really bad at JavaScript. Um, it's not my thing. Um, and we've had this continuing thing that I've been asked by multiple clients, where when you do a data form extension, and you can either choose to render it in a tab, or you can render the fields at the bottom of the form. Um, and I've had plenty of clients say, "Hey, that's great that you put the fields on the form, but they should be in the area of the form that or where the other fields that are around the same data should be, right? They should be with similar fields, not just tacked on to the bottom of the form." And you can do that with JavaScript, but for me, that's like a day's worth of work to try and do that. Let me see if I've got yeah. So I've got a data form extension here. Um, this is just a biographical edit form extension that I wasn't very creative here. I did extension field 1 and extension field 2. Um, and so let me rebuild this just to make sure that that's got the kind of as delivered extension here. So pick a constituent. And so if we go to personal info, right. So this should be familiar to you. It's the way a data form extension renders, um, just kind of tacked on down at the bottom. And I let's just pretend that we wanted these fields to go up above gender. And again, you can do that with JavaScript, but that's not something that's easy for me. So here was the prompt. I guess I should give you a little more info on how I did this. And so what you can do here is, inspect, and I don't know how many of you have looked at the actual IDs of the fields that get output by um, this ext generator stuff. But so they've got CTRL, GUID, and then underscore, and then your field name, and then underscore like value or container. Um, and so if you kind of peruse the XML and find the whole section that you want to modify, so I think it's this one. And what you can do is like edit as HTML just to get it all in one chunk. and then you can paste it into a text editor and just kind of get a better feel for what the field names, like I want to move these two fields to be after or before this other field. That's kind of what you're looking for. Um, and so you can get that by what I do. I stick it into Notepad++, and then I use the XML formatter plugin to just get it readable. And then um, from there, I built the prompt for, let's see, for this. Yeah. So given the following HTML, write a jQuery script to move, and then these are I grab the top level container, right? The TR for the whole row that contains both the caption and the value. So move that one and that one to beneath this one. And then I specified at design time, we don't know the CTRL value. It's possible these are data form extension. Data form, yeah, data form IDs.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
Patrick,
Yep.
we're about 3 minutes to the end here. I didn't know
Okay.
if there was opportunity to
I will
wrap up
speed it up.
this thing. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this is the prompt. Said, give me some JavaScript, and the response was some great JavaScript. It actually worked really well. So I'll stick this in here, um, and then you pop this into um, a script tag, rebuild, and um, while I'm pulling this up, if anybody's got any questions, I can take that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions come in.
Okay. So it did move it, but it broke the columns. So that's a case where it did what you asked, or it did what I asked, but there is a little more work to do there. So need to figure out if that we had ended up putting a div in the wrong place, or if it just messed up the spacing or what. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I had. Like I said, these will be on GitHub. I will put the slides into the presentation, so that'll have the GitHub link on it if anybody wants to just go back and reference this stuff. And it's got my email too, so I appreciate everybody attending. And yeah, shoot me a note if you have any questions or just want to say hi. Um, and yeah, there's if anybody's got any questions, fire away.
And I just added the survey on for people to fill out. I think, where was that link going to be located at for the GitHub, Patrick?
I believe I've got a spot to upload the PowerPoint slide. It's
Mm-hmm.
really just an intro slide, but that's where I was going to put it, or I can put it
Perfect.
someplace else if there's a better spot too.
I think we'll get a recording too with your presentation as well. So,
Okay, great.
yes. Yes. Oh, we have another question coming in. Have you tried to utilize this to create and load test data?
I have not. I love the idea though, because that's kind of a regular um,
Mm-hmm.
problem that we have. Like, you've got sample database and then you've got client data, and you don't want to use client data. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing to try.
Well, thank you everyone for attending. I think we're going to about be cut off here. So, yeah, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope everybody enjoyed and follow back up with us and Patrick. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So everybody. Wow. Yeah. right at 45 minutes. Oh, I think you're muted, or I can't hear you. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, much appreciated. And yeah, sorry, I didn't see your message until about 3 hours after you sent it this morning. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we worked together on something, or at least maybe we're in the same room when I was at Blackbaud. But it's been a long time since I've seen you, so it's good seeing you again. That sounds right. Hope so. Um, yeah, appreciate it, and I'll see you around. All right, bye.